All right. Hello. Welcome as you start coming in. We'll let people take some time to file into the room. It's going to be a more intimate webinar, more like a play group with parents with kids your similar age. So we're expecting a very intimate group to be here to talk about 0 to 6. We have 4 of these, so they're very specific to the age of your child. And so this one is focused on months 0 to 6 months, and we have one right after this for the next stage, and then 2 tomorrow. So we're excited to chat with everybody. We'll give it another minute of people coming in, but we're going to treat it as such. We don't actually have a lot of planned questions that I'll be asking or conversation. We're actually going to rely on you guys to ask questions as much as possible so we can answer anything about the play boxes, about play, about development, etc. We will, and if you wouldn't mind, if you're just filing in, put in the chat where you are, where you're joining us from. Always nice to see where people are joining us from. And we're going to launch a poll just about, how do you find play daunting? Is it, what's your kind of comfort level with play? If you can answer that, and then we'll share that across. But always great. Wisconsin and Utah. I know we have others in here that are being shy, but feel free, Charleston, and cool. And so, as you guys are doing that, I'll introduce myself. I'm Michael. I'm the co-founder of Lalo, and I'm joined by Lizzie, our head of play and development. And Lizzie is has her master's in education. She's a parenting coach, and she also is a mom of 3. And so as we were developing this line of toys and developmentally appropriate toys, Lizzie joined to help us think about the appropriate toys for every stage and create tons of great content for all of you. So if you've received play boxes already, you may have seen these amazing play guides that have such great content about how to use the toy now, how to use it later. But these are more a starting point. There's also videos, but a lot of these toys are open-ended. You'll find all sorts of different ways to use them. And Lizzie and I will talk about that today. I'll end this poll. Some people think it's a bit overwhelming, some not really. Nobody, yes, so that's good. No one's completely feels out of the loop on play. But like I said, we're going to make this more about what you guys have to say and ask and less about us. So what we're going to do is we're going to encourage you to put questions in the Q&A. And if you want to ask your question live, we might try using the raise hand function. So if throughout you have a question or you want to allow us to elaborate on something, raise your hand and we can ask you. I think we're going to try this. It may not work, so bear with us on technology. We may ask you to pop on as kind of a panelist, ask your question, and hop off. But before we get started officially and jumping in, we are excited because if you haven't seen, the play boxes are now live. This is our developmentally appropriate and curated collection of toys that can be available both subscription and not subscription if you're not one of the subscription people and you just want to buy them one-off. But they're live. And for joining today, we're giving one of these subscriptions away today. And so at the end of this, we'll announce who the winner is of who joined us today. So, like I said, intimate crew, which means more chances to win too. But Lizzie, I was hoping you could just kind of kick us off about the importance of play or, why it's important. Like these early stages, these are all parents, 0 to 6 months, new babies, so precious. They're kind of just coming, some of them just coming alive and some still a little blob of cuteness. And so if you could just talk us through like why it's important to play or what even play means.
Sure. I love that. I mean, it feels like there could be so much noise in the parenting space, especially as a new parent. I know that can feel so overwhelming. And so I'm really excited to have the 0 to 6 crew here with us. And I just, play for your newborn baby is really kind of almost everything they do, right? So it's like sensory, anytime you're talking to them, interacting with them, even when they're just like watching the branches or the leaves outside the window, that is play for them. So it doesn't have to stress you out. It doesn't have to be something that you're like, oh my God, now I have to add in a whole nother thing. Like the first 6 months are really about building routines and figuring kind of out the lay of the land, getting your footing. And I always really encourage new parents to sort of build in just playful interactions with your baby as you go. feeding, diapering, whatever you're doing, just remember that like when you're interacting with them, that be playful. That is play. That is so important for their development and their attachment with you.
Yeah, yeah. Play is learning, right? And they're one and the same. They're always learning, especially at this age. Everything is brand new. Every smell, every shape. Eventually, they'll see color in this age group, but every color, everything, every sound. So it's everything is learning. But feel free to start throwing questions in. We'll get to them. But we launched these play boxes in the 0 to 6 age. There are three. There's the 0 to 12 week box. There's the 3 to 4 month box and the 5 to 6 month box. What are some of your favorite toys? I know it's hard, it's maybe a little bit like picking your favorite child, but what are some of your favorite toys in these boxes?
Sure. So my favorite is the Lovey in the very first box. And that is because, if you know me at all or the workspace for children, I am all about toys that can last and grow with your child. I love having something like this Lovey that's going to build in so much comfort and love. Just, you think of a Lovey when you think of a newborn baby, right? But what you're probably not thinking of is that this Lovey is going to be giving your same newborn now when they are 4 and 5 years old so much love and comfort. So that Lovey is probably one of my most like sentimental favorites. What about you, Michael? What's in your favorite in the beginning box?
Oh man. I think that there are a lot. I think, one of my other favorites in the first box is probably the sensory book, the black and white sensory book. I think it's a very different take on sensory books that are out in the market. It's first of all, the textiles are beautiful, the patterns are beautiful, and it's just meant to be stimulating in the right level of stimulation for that age group. And I think our designers did a fantastic job in creating a beautiful object. And I think that's something that I'm really proud of in that box. And the materials we use have been really important. But I think another one that I helped design that I really love is the wobbler in the second box. And it was, there are a lot of these wobbler toys out there, but we kind of like enlarged it and we put a mirror on it. So it's not so much about at 3 to 4 months, they're not going to recognize their reflection in the mirror. But the idea of this thing that's moving, that's catching the light and the reflection, and I think there's a lot of joy, and especially it's a great tummy time enhancer. And so
It is.
I love that toy.
I agree with you because I feel like the more I talk to parents at that age in that second box is really like tummy time is hard. It's hard for parents. You don't want to make your baby cry. And yet your pediatrician is always like, you have to do it. You have to do it. And so I love something like our wobbler because not only is it just really beautiful, so you're going to want to have it around and out in your home. So it's so easy to just like play with and bat. I mean, if you have that out on your coffee table, I guarantee you, even adults are going to start to like pick it up and play with it. This is one of my favorites were these in the 3 to 4 month box also because they're beautiful and you can have them out, except you can also wash them, which is like so important for new parents. We're all about keeping those germs away. And so I just think these are so brilliant.
Yeah. So those are the silicone sensory balls. That are made from FDA grade silicone, completely dishwasher safe and awesome. Cool. I also love the books, right? So Greg and I, my co-founder and I authored 3 books, and something that Lizzie, you and I spoke about early about building connection. One of the best parts of building connection is having a reading routine and the importance of reading at an early age and language development later on. And also just like creating that connection. So, us, obviously these books are not 0 to 3 month box. They're not one word on a page. They're meant to instill great values with a little book about love, a little book about home, and a little book about trust. People might say, why should there be a book about trust for a 6-month-old? Well, it's because first of all, you're just building language and the imagery is great, but it's something that hopefully you'll build connection with, that they'll want to continue to read it as they start to understand what trust can mean and build trust in their own way. We have our first question from the audience, Lizzie, and reminder, if you have a question, feel free to raise your hand and we can have you ask it live or drop it into the Q&A. But this question is from Adriana, and you mentioned about creating attachment. How does play into that? Also, is there a thing as too much play?
I will say that there is never, ever, ever a thing of too much play, because when we think about play as learning, I want you to kind of flip your mindset and ask yourself, is there such a thing as too much learning? No way, right? And so play is learning, learning is play. And when you think about it that way, there you have the answer. And how I'm gonna guess that the attachment question was about our lovey. Is that correct?
I think, and also building attachment to the parent, like connection,
Oh, okay, great.
I
Yep.
think.
So how does play even build attachment to between parent and child? So when you think about, or you're in it, right? You're in it right now with your newborn babies, and you're everything you're doing every day, you're feeding them, you're caring for them, you're talking to them, they're recognizing your voice. All of those things are building a secure attachment. And so when we are playful and we're talking to them throughout those feeding and care routines, they are bonding with you even more. They are feeling safe with you even more. And the safer and more grounded our children feel, the more they're going to flourish as they grow. The safer they're going to feel and develop those milestones.
Yeah, awesome. So quick note about the Q&A. Ask us anything about the play boxes, anything. You have a child 0 to 6 months. There's a topic you're curious about. We're here to answer it. I'm the co-founder. I also have 2 kids. Plenty can answer anything about Lalo products, anything about what it's like to be a dad of 2 kids. And Lizzie is certainly an expert in her field of work. So fire them away. Otherwise, you're going to be forced to hear me talk and ask questions. But you're all here surrounded by people that are going through the exact same things as you. So we'll wait and see if there's anything else. Otherwise, I'll ask
Yeah.
other questions.
Can we go back to the book for a second? Because I think you
Yeah,
touched on
sure.
something really important about, like, why would we have a book about trust for a 6-month-old, right? It might seem silly. But the thing is that when you're reading it to your kids, it's so important that you are enjoying yourself. You are, and I think like these little books about these wonderful values are also really helping you invest in your reading routine with your child. And when you start that routine early, it's going to keep going throughout their life. And so read things that you enjoy. Read things, you don't have to just read like a picture, one word, one picture. Read everything. Read things that you enjoy, because that is so important in bonding with your child.
Yeah, agree. We have a couple more questions coming in from the group. So the first is, when thinking about development of 0 to 6 months, what are some of the main developmental things to look for, milestones? That word is obviously a little bit tricky, but we'll focus on maybe typically developing child for this one. But like, what are the main things to look for in this age group?
Sure. I mean, between 0 to 6 months, it's just like a massive, there's so many milestones. So I think what we really want to focus on as parents to cover all the milestones is going to be that kind of eye contact, that wanting to bond with them, call and response, repeat back the noises they make, you make them back at them, that kind of call and response, right? Anytime that you can be interactive with your child, that's supporting milestones. I mean, I could sit here and tell you, like, at 8 weeks, your child should do this, and at 12 weeks, your child should do this. But the truth is that there's a range, right? And you can Google that. So I really try to encourage parents to focus on what feels good, focus on play, because that is what is going to help flourish. That is going to what's develop those milestones.
Yeah. Okay. I agree. Next one. How do you think about adding play into just your daily routine?
I think about it all the time, and because I love it, and I hope everyone does it, whether their baby is 2 weeks old or 12 years old. I think as parents, we think so much about making sure our kids are reading in their daily routine and they're getting proper nutrition, and play as part of that daily routine is just as if it's just so crucial, right? And so when we think about for our kids, signing them up for that baby music class or making sure they're in soccer, I also really want parents to think about having that downtime for your child to just discover their materials and toys that they have, having things like this out and accessible for your kids. because that is when you're really building in play routines every day.
Yeah. Okay. The next one is someone that I definitely think about, or I did think about a year ago when my son was born. I have a 3.5-year-old and now a 14-month-old. Is how to involve older siblings. You know, that older toddler that's or whatever age that's looking to get involved and show love to their new brother or sister. How can you involve them with the toys in the boxes and playtime in general?
And I actually have been thinking so much about this lately and working on content around this because I think it's just so important. We put so much pressure on ourselves and our older siblings to be like, to love the baby and to be, such good older siblings. But I think the first thing is going to really be to accept a full range of emotions. So to really be able to feel comfortable saying to your older child, this is different. It's different with the baby here. It feels different, right? And then we want to help your older child feel like an expert, right? So you can say to them when they have toys, you can ask them, don't be afraid to say to them, this toy is for the baby, but I bet you really know what to do with it. Can you show the baby and sort of let them be in charge of the baby's toys? Especially, it's great because it gives big kids something to hold in their hands so that they're not grabbing and pushing and loving too hard. But really putting them in that expert role of saying, you were recently a baby. You know so much about these baby books. Can you read this? And just helping them develop that confidence as an older sibling.
Yeah, this is a question from Rachel in the audience that stems off of these points with the older sibling. How do you explain, or any tips on explaining sharing? Like, especially if
Yeah.
the older one doesn't want to share with the new sibling.
Right. I mean, I have tons of tips on that, and we could actually go into depth on that more on the Lalo blog maybe. But number one, knowing that sharing is not going to be really developmentally appropriate for your 3 or 4-year-old with your newborn baby, right? So to let go of that expectation that your toddler or preschooler is going to want to share. If they don't want to share with the new baby, there's nothing wrong with them. They're not spoiled. You're not doing anything wrong. And I always encourage the big kids to say, like, it's true, you really want that for yourself. Can you think of something else to give the baby? Can you let the baby hold something else instead of pushing the sharing? Because your older sibling is adjusting to so much right now. They'll get the sharing and you don't have to worry about that right now with your newborn.
Yeah, I think that's a great tip. And I've seen that strategy work plenty of times. And I've seen other strategies completely backfire. And I think one thing is true of toddlers. I was going to use a different way to describe the older child in the home, but is they're unpredictable. They're
Yeah,
unpredictable.
as
And
they
so
should be.
yeah, and that is right, developmentally appropriate for them to be unpredictable.
Yeah. And
And
don't beat yourself up as a parent. Like I think a lot of parents, I know I did this too, Michael, you probably did it too. Like the first time the big one doesn't want to share with the little one, you think like, am I spoiling that? Like they're supposed to, but they're not. And you don't have to react out of feeling like fearful that you did something wrong.
yeah, yeah. It's also, I think there are a lot of great lessons about sharing too. And, if someone is playing with something, it doesn't mean they have to sharing is not giving up something you want. Sharing is everybody having time with it in due time, or, giving up some of your time so someone else can have more, but it's not completely relinquishing the thing you want to. That also is not the definition of sharing. So I think sharing is something every parent learns how to navigate and teach their child. And even if it doesn't seem like it's coming across to your child, they will eventually get it. They will eventually get it.
They will. And I always encourage people to think about it this way. If you were sitting there and you were reading your favorite book and your friend came over and grabbed it from you, you would pull back. You wouldn't want to share it. But if your
Yeah.
friend came over and said, like, tell me about that book. Oh, when you're done with it, can I read it? You can't wait to give it to them, right? It's
Yeah.
the same thing for kids.
Yeah. Okay, we have another anonymous question here. Are there specific toys that can help newborns with teething discomfort? Great
There
question.
are. And that is a great question. And I think almost kind of everything in our baby boxes will do that, right? So, I mean, I right now am holding our silicone toys. These are amazing for teething, but I know we also have mine's
Right
over
here.
here, but thank you. Yes. I mean, that to me is such a perfect toy, right? I don't know if you guys can see it up close, but each one of those little nubs is feels so good. It has a different texture. It's awesome for developing their fine motor skills with their hands. I mean, that also is a toy that is going to last, right? Like your kids are still going to be using that like through when they're one.
Yep. Yep. And also, it can come apart. There's no, nothing here is a choking hazard or anything. It's just purely, fun and very tactile.
And you're not worrying about the materials being
Yeah,
toxic
I mean,
because I
this
know
is,
that's like such a big one.
yeah, this is, all FDA grade silicone, 100% non-toxic, no BPA, no PFAS, no nothing, all the good stuff. And then perfectly all natural, sustainably sourced rubber wood. And then, okay, we have another question here, and we have a couple more minutes. So last call for questions. These have been great so far. We have how does the black and white book encourage development in 0 to 6 months?
That's a great question. So your child needs to be visually stimulated in the beginning. That's what they can see. But the thing that I love about our book is that it's not overstimulating. And when you look into the play guides, it kind of tells you exactly, how to hold it and where to hold it, so that it doesn't become too much. But it's really helping your child to see pattern and it sounds even silly, but even those things are pre-reading skills. Those are, and the more you're talking to them about that is pre-language skills. So there are just so many ways that it's developing. And I really encourage you to look into the play guides for how to use it now and how to use it later, because there's so much you can do with it, even just with this one book.
Yeah. Yeah. And babies don't see color right away. That's the other thing. So the reason there's muted colors, black and white, neutral tones in the first box, and then gradually as the boxes get older, you see more color come in, and beautiful color come in because they're not seeing color yet. So eventually they'll get there. They're, zero, if they're in the first month, they're really just like seeing what's right in front of their face, like really close. And their vision is, their shape of their eyes, everything is growing and changing so quickly that they're eventually seeing further distance, more color, more vibrant color. And so, that's why everything is a bit more muted, and the sensory book really helps with that. We have another question here in the chat from Kiana. What makes these toys better for child development than electronic toys?
This is an amazing question. I love it. So I'm always going to recommend for people when they're looking at a toy, especially our toys were developed on this, is we want to know, we don't want the toy to play for your child. We want your child to play with the toy. And when you use an electronic toy that has maybe one function, like, you press the button, it makes noise. You press the button, it makes noise. It's kind of exciting at first, right? Your kid is really attracted to that. But then that's all it does, right? Our toys and materials are more open-ended, which means they can become so many things. They can meet your child where they are developmentally. So we take maybe like a play silk, right? When your baby is brand new and they are only really learning through texture and touch and shadows, it's there. But then as your baby grows, the play silk grows with them, because then they're playing peekaboo with it, right? And then as they get older, it is becoming dress up clothes or for a fort, right? So these are toys that your child can use for their own play and not the other way around.
Yeah. And I think that really helps with, the longevity, keeping things out of landfill if they don't like it, an electronic toy or they've outgrown it, it's gonna, pretty much end in the trash or hopefully given to someone else. But they, all the use of these toys, yeah, they're 0 to 6 months or 0 to 12 weeks and 3 to 4, 5 to 6, but they can be used when they're 7, 8, 9, 10 months old and beyond. A lot of these things, the use doesn't end when the time of the box is over. And we try to hit that home in the play guides that Lizzie wrote. We have a question here from Priya about, is there a certain order of the toys? And I'll take this one. So in our play boxes, in the first year, you're getting toys every 2 months. So every 2 months you're getting toys as your child is developing rapidly. In the second year of the subscription, or if you choose to subscribe, you're getting them every 3 months. Their development is a little less rapid. They're still learning very, very fast, but it's less rapid. So you're getting them every 3, and there's bigger toys by that age, things that are a little bit more involved. So by default, if you're subscribing, you'll get the 0 to 12 week box, then the 3 to 4 month box, then the 5 to 6 month box. But like we just said, those 0 to 12 week toys can still be used. There are the vision cards in there. Great for tummy time, especially if you have our play gym and the card holder that comes with it. Slot in those cards, pop it up for tummy time, and they're great. And that's going to continue, right? And you know, as you're going to be doing tummy time for a while until they're crawling or rolling over and things like that, until they're mobile. So there's an order in which they arrive to you, but there's not an order in which you can use them or stop using them. That's up to you and your child, and you know what you guys have fun with and what your child is responding to the most. But we encourage you to keep trying. So okay, last call for any questions. Otherwise, we're gonna wrap things up. I think we're good. All right, I don't see anything coming in. Okay, so the last thing is the giveaway. So let me go here to see the random drawing that our team did in the background. And so when I call your name, you're the winner, please hit the raise hand button, and Ariane on our team will reach out to you probably via email post the webinar to set up your prize. The winner is Emily Pinellas. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. All right, Emily's here. So Ariane will be in touch. We'll close off with one last question that just popped into the chat from Kiana. What is the difference between parent-led learning and child-led learning? And what is more appropriate depending on age?
I love that. I mean, I think what it basically is going to be is when your child is brand new, of course, it's going to be more parent-led, right? So your job as the parent is going to be to give play opportunities, right? And to be playful with your child. And as your child grows into a little bit older, even in the next 6 to 12 months, you're going to start to be able to follow their lead and have more child-led learning.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. I will just say this, our play boxes are amazing. We are so happy that they're here in the world. They've been a labor of love for a good amount of time. Excited that they're in market. For this month, we have 40% off your first box when you subscribe. We'll make sure that code is in the in your confirmation email or in our follow-up email to you guys for joining us today. And if you have any questions at all about the play boxes, please feel free to message us on our website, DM us on Instagram, wherever. We'll make sure we get you any information you have about the play boxes or any other Lalo product. And thank you for joining us today. Bye.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Lizzie.